So this particular gospel reading is, I think, hard for a lot of people to get their minds around because Jesus is sort of talking about things right then, things now, things always, and he's talking on multiple levels. And so I was trying to figure out what is the best way to sort of conceptualize it. And then a lyric came to me. The immortal words of Kenny Rogers. You gotta know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, know when to run. I'll stop there because I won't torture you anymore with my singing. But I think that actually applies really good to this one. Let me explain why. So you start off with, you got to know how to hold them. So Jesus is talking to those people in that time, but is also talking to everyone in all times, right? So in that time, he's giving very specific literal advice. Because he's saying, there are those who've come before me. These are these people who have claimed to be messiahs. There will be those who come after me who are going to claim to be the Messiah. They are not truly there to help you. I know you guys want a military ruler who's going to overthrow the Romans and going to do all these things. That's not going to end well. That will only end in death. And we know, from our perspective, that that was absolutely true, right? Because you had the first and second Jewish-Roman wars where the Messiah characters came up and said, follow me, I'm going to reestablish the kingdom of David, just like you all want. Let's pick up arms and fight the Romans. And they did and got slaughtered twice. But again, it's whenever Jesus talks, it's not just for those people in that time, it's for us in ours. He reminds them that, well, he isn't exactly what they want, right? He's not going to lead this military campaign. He is the true Messiah. He is the true shepherd. And that the role of the interaction between Jesus and us is for us to be listening for God's voice. And for us to, when we hear him, follow. With the promise that if we do that, he will lead us to a more abundant life. Now, the abundant life may not be the way we as humans think about it. So when we think about abundance, we think of like full stomachs and big houses and cars and all sorts of human stuff. He's talking about the good life, the best you can be. The most content, most peaceful, most happy that you can be. That's the pasture he's trying to lead you to. And so you got to know when to hold them. When you hear that voice, know to follow and keep following. But he also does talk about thieves and bandits. Now, thieves are different than bandits, right? A thief merely wants to take something from you. A bandit wants to take everything from you. A thief can be happy just stealing your wallet. A bandit's going to hold you up and doesn't care if you see his face because you aren't going to live through it, right? So you got to know when to fold them. So thieves are those sorts of things in our lives that just steal on the margins, an hour here, 20 minutes there, a little energy here, a little spirituality there, a little attention here, and slowly zap your ability to follow and hear the voice of your shepherd. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. I think most of us have had this experience. So let's say you have a really hard day at work. We've all had a hard day at work, right? Or a hard week at work. Or maybe you finally get to that vacation you've been looking forward to for so many weeks. And you're like, that's it. I have my 20 minutes or my hour or my week or whatever, right? You have some period of time that you have no chores, no work. You are so excited you're ready to do that thing you're called to do, even if what that is a nap. Okay? Or talk to your spouse, or call your parents, or chat with your grandparents, or chat with your kids or your grandkids. You finally have that freedom you've worked so hard for all week long. And then, before you do that thing God's calling you to do, you pick up your phone and you go, I should just check social media for like 5 minutes. And so you do. And that hour you worked so hard to get vanishes like that. We've all been there, right? I don't care if it's Facebook or Insta or TikTok or whatever. We've all been there. And I say 9 out of 10 times you spend that time on there and you get done and you don't feel better. You don't feel more relaxed. You haven't really unwound. You're no closer to going to sleep. You're no closer to calling your parents. And now it's like 10 p.m. and you got to go to bed. Now, sometimes social media is great. I've had those moments where I've gone on there and I've connected with a good old friend. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking the other 90% of the time. When you end up feeling the same way as when you open that app, if not worse. But now your hour that you could have used, it's gone. See, that's when you've been stolen from. That's when those voices, whatever they might be, have sort of just stolen that hour from you, or those 4 hours, or that day, or whatever. So you got to know when to fold them. Those of you who are older like I am, remember the flip phones that you literally folded. You got to know when it's time to just say, hey, this ain't for me today. Because social media is not evil, it's not bad, but it can steal from you. We've all been there. You got to know when to hold it, you got to know when to fold it, you got to know when to walk away. So you have bandits. Bandits are these things in our life that aren't just trying to take a few hours here, a few minutes there. They're the things in our life that want us to give our life over to something else. The most classic ones of these are the voices out in the world that is there to tell you, if you only had more money, you'd be happy. If you only had more prestige, you would be happy. If you only were a little bit more famous, you would be happy. If you only watch any commercial, because they don't sell items anymore. Have you noticed that? They sell lifestyle brands. You too could be a rugged individual if you only owned that car. Right? We're going to ignore it. It says person on test track in random location owned by company. Do not do this at home, right? Those are the sorts of things that can steal your whole life. Because if you get caught up in the idea that the next promotion, the next raise, the next prestigious position I take or whatever is going to fulfill me, is going to fill that hole, you will be chasing that your whole life. Because there will always be someone richer. There will always be someone more famous. There will always be someone better. There will always be someone above you. And if by some crazy chance, because someone always says, well, what happens if you win a gold medal in the Olympics? I tell them, sure, that happens. But even Michael Phelps has people beat his personal bests. And your life becomes a footnote. See, the bandits of our lives are those things that will try to call us. And if we listen to them rather than listen to our shepherd, we can end up wasting our whole life and losing it. We've all known that person who has spent their whole life in pursuit of one of these things. Sometimes to get it, sometimes not, but either way, they end up growing old, retiring, and being empty. And realizing their life, they gave up all the things that were important for something that is just a vanishing dream. You gotta know when to hold them. You gotta know when to fold them. You gotta know when to walk away. You gotta know when to run. So we are talking about, one of the things he is talking about is these Messiah characters, right? He talks about how to those people in that time, there's gonna be these Messiahs that are gonna come up. Don't follow them, right? But that does apply in our own time. And now, granted, if we're talking absolute literally, note here, if someone tells you like they are the reincarnation of Jesus Christ and they're walking on the world and they are that, run is absolutely the right thing to do. But I'm talking broader than just that very literal sense. Because there are things in our life that try to be our Messiah. They can be ideologies, they can be concepts, they can be political parties, they can be bosses, they can be friends. It's any time someone or something comes to you and says, if you just suspend caring about yourself and your thoughts and your ideas and hand control over to me, everything will be fine. Because if everyone just believed this or followed this person or did these things, you'll be good. Don't ask too many questions. You hear that line from a salesperson, from an ideology, from a teacher, from a politician, from a friend, run. Because what you're running into is someone who's saying, ignore your shepherd. I'll be your Messiah. Or that thing will be your Messiah. It will save you in the end. Don't worry and don't ask too many questions. That is dangerous. Run away. So as you go out this week, take a few minutes in your life and ask yourself, in your spiritual world, do you know when to hold them? What you should be holding on to? What your shepherd's voice is? Do you know when to fold them? In other words, when to walk away from those things that are simply distractions and provide you nothing? Do you know when to walk away? Walk away from the empty promises the world has. And do you know when to run when you've run into a dangerous person, thing, or ideology that causes you to lose or is calling you to lose yourself and lose your shepherd? Amen.